Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the final video in the integration series where we are looking at the integration between the various UiPath components, that is UiPath apps, UiPath data services, UiPath Orchestrator, and definitely UiPath Studio. So let's see the agenda for this video. Prior jumping to the agenda, I request you to watch the first 4 videos of the series, and the one more video is there which shows the complete demo. So then only this video will make more sense. Let's jump to the agenda. In this video we are going to connect the app which we have created in video 4 to the orchestrator. After that we'll test run the app with providing by some of the sample records. Post that we'll revisit the problem statement, that what exactly is the problem statement that we are trying to address here, and we'll discuss the solution, and the complete solution will be provided here in this video. So let's get started. In the last video we have seen that how to we create an app in the UiPath apps, and we were able to create this app, and then we have deployed a process in UiPath Studio whose job was to extract the data from this website and put the data in the data services, and that process is up and running in the UiPath Studio. So in this video what we are going to do is we are going to connect the UiPath app to the UiPath orchestrator, and this will be the final video in this tutorial. Okay, so let's go back to apps.uipath.com. so if you remember, we have created this app. If I click on the pencil button, I go to the edit mode. Okay, and this is the app, and as of now this is not connected to the orchestrator, and this is our process. The process name is currency mapping demo in the sample environment. Okay, if I go to the view process, talking about the parameters, I have 3 input parameters and 1 output parameters. So these parameters were source date, destination date, and currency, and we have 1 output value which is coming in the form of a string. Okay, so if you will map it, so the source date will go here, destination date will go here, currency will go here, and when we click on the button we should get an output from this final output, and that should be mapped to one more label which is somewhere here. Okay, it should be somewhere here. Okay, so let's try to map this. So how do we map? So first one is I want to map this source date. Okay, so I go to the value binding, and if you will see, it says there is no process selected. So first thing, we have to go and click on the button. Okay, so which is the tenant. So we are working on the same tenant. We should be on the same tenant where the data service is enabled and where the process is deployed. So this is the tenant. Okay, so I just confirm the tenant, hit next. Now it will ask me the folder. Okay, so if I go back, so my process is available in the default folder. So here you can see the process is available in the default folder. I'll just expand the default, and this is the process I want to map. Okay, so as soon as I select the process, UiPath gives me the list of the input and the output arguments. We verify. Okay, so these are the 3, and this is the output argument. I hit select. Now this is configuring the process to this UiPath app. Okay, so now the value binding. Okay, so if I'll just click on the parameters, I'll just go back again to the apps. Okay, now the process is added. I go again to the edit. Okay, and now if I click on the source date, value binding, expand this, and where we want to bind the source date, so we have to just bind it here, and we'll drag and drop it like this. And now if you'll see, it is binded to the source date. Okay, similarly for the destination date, this is the process. I want to bind the destination date, and we drag and drop it here. Okay, similarly for the currency, we want it to bind to the input argument, and this is the currency is again binded to the this output argument and the input argument, and this link button shows that these guys are already mapped. Okay, so what about the output argument? So we had a label here somewhere. Okay, just do one thing. I'll go ahead and add a label. Okay, I'll drag it, drop it here. Okay, and this label I want to bind it to the output. So what will happen when I click on the button, it should print the final output in this label. Okay, and I'll just remove this guy from here. Okay, and I'll just let me put a dash maybe here, and it will put the final output is binded to this one. So when I press this button, so what will happen when this app will execute? The user will provide the source date, destination date, and the currency, and these three will be passed as an input to this process, because these are the three parameters, input parameters here. Okay, and when the process executed successfully, the output value will be mapped to this one. But in the button, what we have to do is we have to invoke the process, right? So we have not yet done, we have not yet executed the event on this button. So we'll go select the button, go to the select the button, go to events, create a rule, and what we want to do, right? We want to start a process. Now UiPath will ask me which process you want to start, and we have this process. So all we have to do is just drag and drop it here. Okay, and now there are some values. What does you want to have it is completed, what should we do when there is error, and all those things, right? We can configure here. So as of now, I'll just leave it to the default setting. I'll close this, and if I just again go to the button, let me just check. Yeah, it is available. Okay, so this completes the setting up of the input and output arguments to the UiPath app. Let's publish this guy, and the app is published successfully. Let's go again back to the apps. Okay, and now if I just go ahead and run this app, okay, let's see if we have something here. So if I go to the jobs, so as of now you will see the last job was 5 hours ago. Okay, so now what should happen is whenever we provide the source date, destination date, and currency, okay, I'll just open the this guy also, data service also. Let me go to the home. So this is the same tenant where the data service was also enabled. Okay, so here we have the data services. So now we have, okay, it's refreshing. So now we have 159 records in the data services. So what should happen? So whenever we put the source date, destination date, currency, right, so and hit the button, this button, so what would happen is a job will trigger from the orchestrator, this job, and it will go to the UiPath robot, UiPath assistant. Then UiPath assistant will do the scraping and everything on this web portal. Once the everything is done, the data will come from this UiPath orchestrator to UiPath data services. Then all the manipulation of the data, subtracting of the data, and will be done. And once the final output will be again given back to UiPath orchestrator, and which in turn again will be printed in this guy here. Okay, so let's try to execute this one. So we'll provide a source date 2020-12 hyphen, let's say 12, and 2020-12-13. Okay, and the currency, I just remember euro, so let's put euro here and click on the button. Okay, process error, something went wrong. We go to dismiss. Let's see what is happening in the orchestrator. We refreshed, nothing is happening. Okay, let's go back to the apps and see what has went wrong. Okay, I go to data, this guy, apps, check, is everything okay? So these values are binded in the button. Okay, in the events, edit rule. Okay, so the process is mapped correctly to the currency mapping demo, and which if we'll come down, we will see, okay, so the process is selected to type an attended mode. So actually the process which we have developed is an unattended process and is executed by an unattended robot. So the type of robot executing the process is unattended, hence this guy will be selected. Okay, let's save this. Okay, I'll go to close, edit rule, let me confirm. Okay, this is done, and now let me publish this. Okay, so the app is published successfully. Now let's again go back to the apps. Okay, and if I just select play, okay, so now I should get the updated app. Okay, so now what should happen is whenever we provide the source date, destination date and currency, and I click on this button, what would happen is the process will go to the orchestrator under automation. Let us verify. If I go to the jobs, so the job was last 15 hours ago. So what would happen is, as of now you will see there is no job getting executed here. So if I pull up the details here and hit the button, this job will get executed and it will fill the data in the data services. Let us just verify the data services also. I'll just refresh this. Okay, I'll go to the data service. Okay, and I have 159 records. Okay, and let's try to run this. So I'll type here 2020-12-13 maybe, and destination would be 2020-12-12, and the currency we want to evaluate it for the euro currency. Click on the button. The process should fire now. Let's go to the jobs. Okay, and it is pending. So we can see the process has started and it has fired up the IE. Now it will type the URL. Next it should click on the historical lookup. Okay, it will refresh. Now it will put the first date in the date column, and once the date is put, it will try to scrape the data from the website in a data table, and that entire data will be fill up in the data services. It has put the date, hit on the go button, and now the scraping of the data is being performed by the bot, which in turn will fill up the data services. Okay, and all of this is happening in an unattended mode. Okay, let it execute. So the execution for the first date was completed. Next it has closed the IE. Again open the Internet Explorer. It will refresh the portal. Again go to the historical lookup, put up the destination date in the date column. Okay, it will just fill up the date, hit on the go. Next it will again scrape the data, but this time it will scrape the data for the destination date. Once the scraping is completed, it will fill up the entity in the data services. Okay, and once both the entities are filled up in the data services, what will happen is the subtraction logic will apply, where the bot will evaluate the euro difference, the currency difference for the euro for the source and the destination date, and once this both are evaluated, we will get the result in the UiPath app. Okay, so the process executed completely. Let's go back to our app here, and you will see the rate difference for the currency euro is this, the source rate was this, and the destination rate was this. Okay, so now let's see what has changed in all this thing, right? So if I go to the data services now, and if I hit a refresh, so you will see now I have 212 records. So some records were added in the source date and some are added in the destination date. Now if I go to the jobs and I just refresh, okay, so you will see there is this process which is just completed 2 minutes ago, and if you'll see the logs, so if you remember, we have logged the final message, right? And this is the message which we are getting in the UiPath apps also. Okay, so if I go to the UiPath app, so this is the final difference which is being printed in the orchestrator as well as in the UiPath app as well. And going to the data services, we will see the both the entities are filled up with some of the records, so we can easily verify the records by clicking on any of those and going to the data. So in data we have put a date, right? So this is the date, so we have just put the date for 12/10. so this is how the both the entities are filled up. Now that we have just completed the complete implementation of the integration, let's quickly recap the problem statement and the solution, and let's try to map it to our solution. Okay, so we had a problem statement where we have to browse a website, and we have to browse the website for a specific date and a currency. So in our example, we have just queried for euro and for date 12th. Then we have to again query the website for the second date. Then whatever the rates are coming, we have to get the difference. Okay, and we in our case we were getting the difference for the euro currency for the date 12th and 13th. Okay, I guess 12th or 10th it was. And so what was the problem statement here? So the problem statement was the date were varying and the currency were varying, so the input was not always fixed. So someday the dates may be different, someday the currency could be different. The next problem was that this the project should be executed by a multiple number of user at any number of times. So we could not use the orchestrator for scheduling because the time, the machine, and nothing was fixed. Okay, so the next problem was we do not want intermittent storage such as a Excel or a shared drive, because the users were different users were located at different location, the shared location would be different for them. So, and because of all these things, we do not want to store it in an Excel or a this folder structure, but still we wanted to have a persistent storage where in future if you want something, so that we could query and see what exactly happened in the previous runs. Okay, so this was our problem statement. To address the solution, what we thought that we would use the studio, orchestrator and robot to build the solution. Okay, so let's go back to the orchestrator. Okay, so this is the orchestrator, and if I just go here, so we have created a robot in UiPath Studio which was able to browse the website, get the specified date, compare both the rates, and the project is deployed in orchestrator. So this is the project. So if I go to the processes, so this is the automation which was deployed in the orchestrator, built in UiPath Studio, deployed in UiPath Orchestrator, and we had provided it with 3 arguments. Okay, and once this process is deployed and we trigger it, so UiPath assistant was the one who is responsible for triggering the process, and the comparison everything logic is built in this block. Okay, next the first set of problem was addressed. Now the second set of problem was what would happen if the input is varying and the time is not fixed, right? So for that, what we have done is we have built an app in the UiPath app studio, where now what we can do is we can run it for any number of time with any set of inputs, right? We can change this to USD, we can change this to INR, we can change the date, and we can run it any number of time, provided anybody who is having this URL can access this website any number of time. Okay, so we address this problem of the varying input and the scheduling part, number of user, with the help of UiPath apps. The last problem statement was that we don't want to store it in an Excel or a shared location, and we want to have a persistent storage. Okay, so if you'll see in this process, whenever I click on the button, I do get the data, but we are not storing it in Excel or any shared location, right? So we are storing that thing in our entities which we have created with the help of data services. Now in future, if anybody wants from an audit point of view, so we can easily come to here, we can go to the data, and this will have all the data for the previous runs also. So if I go back to the entities, we can see there is 212 records, and it will keep appending. All right, so that way we are maintaining a persistent storage also. So this is persistent storage. So this persistent storage was handled with the help of UiPath data services. And what exactly how these things are mapped? So we have created an app, we fill up the data, we click on the button. This button, whenever is clicked, is triggers a process in UiPath Orchestrator. It gets the input from the UiPath app, it evaluates everything with the help of assistant, scrapes the data from this website, put the data in the data services. Once the data is put in the data services, again the control comes back to UiPath this process. It evaluates the output, and once the output is available, it is again given back to this guy. Okay, so this is all about the integration of the UiPath app, UiPath data services, and UiPath orchestrator. Now before I wrap up this session, there are something which we should have taken care while designing the solution. So the first thing, if you will see, when the process is running, the eye is still open, right? So we should have a mechanism to close this eye. So for that, we could have used the robotics enterprise template for the linear process. In case you don't know how to use a robotics enterprise template for the linear process, I'll provide the link in the description, where I have step by step defined how we can use then RE template for an linear process. So we should have used that one. So this was something, there was no exception handling. And if you'll just go to the app, you will see there is date, right? So ideally, if this is a date, we should have put a calendar which can be easily customizable in the currency app. So this app could be more designed in a better way. So for example, this source date can be of type calendar here, this can be of calendar, and this currency, as we know, this currency is we are getting from the data services. So we could have a drop down here where the user get an option to select the currency, and again this thing can be in a more better way. So that was not all this part of the video, but these were some of the enhancement in this process. Okay, so That completes the video here. I will wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.